film is tentatively titled The Rideshare Killer, and it's about a killer who uses an Uber-like app to kill drivers and then pick them up, and to kill the driver and then pick up and kill that driver's passengers. It's on IMDb now, so you can check it out as far as the cast and the crew and all of that. Let me talk a little bit about the original idea, and maybe this will just give you guys some insight into kind of how I approach this film and why I ended up doing this film versus some of the other films, the other scripts that I have sitting on my shelf. So the original idea came from taking the pinch. I did a film 2 or 3 years ago called The Pinch. It was really low budget film. I put it together, wrote it, directed, and produced it. And then that same year, this was probably 2016, maybe 2017, but it was a couple of years ago, I went to AFM, and AFM is the American Film Market. It's once a year, generally in late October, early November in Santa Monica. In the meantime, once I had written the script, I met a fellow named Tony Greenberg, and I know he listens to the podcast still to this day, so hello, Tony. And at the time, he actually lived in Malibu. So he is a retired doctor, and he had optioned a bunch of books, and he had started to have those books turned into screenplays because in his retirement, he wants to basically be a producer. So he contacted me. He was listening to my podcast. At some point, either he or I, one of us, we realized that we lived fairly close together, and we just started communicating. I think it was entirely via email. We might have had a phone call, but I think it was just entirely through email, and we just said, hey, well, let's just meet for lunch at some point. So we did, just me and Tony, we just met here in Agora Hills for lunch. At the end of it, I sort of started to see that he really wanted to produce stuff, and these books that he has been optioning, they're not low budget projects. As we were talking over this lunch, I just sort of threw out the idea. I said, and I just finished The Pinch maybe a year earlier, so I just said, hey, for the amount of money, I did The Pinch, we could probably do something a lot better with if we had twice as much money, and that's kind of about where we ended up, a little more than twice as much money for this one. Would you be interested in being a producer on that? And sure enough, he said yes. Then we started to go through casting, and what we decided to do originally was we figured we'll get the sort of some of our leads cast, and then we'll do a Kickstarter for the rest of the money. The way the story is written is it's 3 women that own this rideshare or work at this ride-sharing company, and they're running the app. It's kind of a startup, and we thought, okay, we'll cast this and get people to have some following, and they'll be able to help with the Kickstarter. And as we're going through the process, I would ask everybody that came in and read for us, auditioned for us, I would ask them, oh, how do you feel about helping to promote the film? And everybody was super cool about it. But what we felt was it would be a very different ask if we did the film and then asked them after we had the thing in the can, because once you're on set with someone, it's a very intense situation where you really get to know people pretty well for the 3 weeks of the shoot. You're working with them, 12 hours a day, and you become friends with them. And so we started to think maybe we should shoot this thing and then do the Kickstarter for post-production. Basically, me and Tony, and truth be told, mostly Tony, we cobbled together basically the budget for principal photography, and then now we need to go and get the money for post-production. And so I knew that it was going to kind of break that way anyway, so I thought, okay, we can go ahead and we can actually go ahead and get this thing bumped up and shoot it now, because we were actually thinking of shooting it more in like February, March, April next year. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. If you'd like to hear the full interview, just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com/podcasts, or to go directly to the episode, just use the link in the show notes. Thanks for watching.